Hello and welcome to NCT On Air. Today we're starting the first in a series of short talks with Doug Hesse, 2015 Program Chair for NCTE's annual convention. Doug is NCT and Executive Director of Writing at the University of Denver. Hi, Doug. Today, hi, excited to have you with us.
Thanks.
Today I'd like to explore the theme you've chosen for this year's convention: responsibility, creativity, and the arts of language. Why those words and why now?
Oh, well, I'm really looking forward to this convention. I chose the theme because historically, and I think into the future, NCTE and its members have had a couple of broad roles. The responsibility suggests that we've always been very much involved in some basic practical literacy kinds of needs of our students in this country. We teach reading, we teach writing. These are foundational skills for future schooling, also for jobs. So that's crucial. We're responsible for that, along with lots of others. The creativity part comes from the fact that we've also historically, and I hope into the future, been responsible for the imaginative part of language. We teach novels, we teach poems, we teach plays, both reading them, but also producing them. And we're particularly now in an era where we're a culture of makers. People like to be doing things, and social media is a terrific example of that. I put these two together because I worry a little bit that in the pursuit of the very important practical things, we might be giving some short shrift to the creative parts of our role. And anything you look at these days suggests that creative people are also very productive people. So we can't lose both of those sides.
That's great. And I also wonder, when I think about the responsibility piece of that title, if there's also a component of that addresses issues of social justice or civic responsibility as part of our role as English teachers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think as we're in the throes of presidential campaigning, 14 months before there's even an election, it behooves us to have a nation of voters who are able to understand what are the claims being made by candidates, what are the arguments. So political action is the most obvious place where those skills are important. But people do a lot of advocating in their own lives. Anytime you get a statement from your bank that's wrong and you need to correct it, you need literacy skills. Anytime that there's something under deliberation in your church, in your school, how do you understand that issue? How do you influence it? And sadly, these days, there are lots of people at real disadvantage in our country. How do we help them get the resources they need? How do we help them develop the skills that they need to improve their own lives and the lives of others?
So all clearly relevant for this time and place. I also feel like in conversations I've had with you in the past that you've expanded my thinking about this phrase, the arts of language. And I was wondering if you could talk about that specific wording and what you mean by that, what kinds of things are examples of what falls under that umbrella, and maybe even talk about it in the context of some of the speakers and things that will be happening at this convention.
Sure. I very intentionally chose what will strike many people as an old-fashioned phrase, the arts of language. What I mean by that is there is certainly a sense in which our language skills and abilities depend on specific strategies that we learn, that we know through research, help develop and improve them. But there's also a sense that especially teaching is an art, that it depends on teachers figuring out, given this student, given this situation, what do I have available in order to help make a difference in that student's life? Additionally, beyond that, the arts of language, reading, writing, speaking, those are fundamental and so on. But with digital media for the past 20 years, boy, do we have an expanded range of things. What we're doing now is employing an art of language that just would not have been conveniently possible even 10 years ago. I say conveniently possible. So we have interesting new responsibilities and opportunities with visual media, with sound, with image, and all of those I think are vital in developing a new literacy. I could go on with those, but I think our job as teachers has gotten both more complicated and a whole lot more interesting because we've got these range of things available. As far as speakers at the convention, we have a terrific lineup of authors. That's something that's always true. At the various section meetings, the plenaries, they're just replete with people all the way from Chris Crutcher to Frank Walker. But I'm particularly interested in a couple of the keynote sessions that we've got planned. We have Chelsea Clinton, who is going to be talking about a new book that is just published, I think today. It's aimed at young readers. It really talks about the kinds of things that they can do in their own lives as people growing up in this particular age. And I think it's a really interesting, teachable book. I think it will be fun to hear of somebody who's known in one domain as a philanthropist and as a kid that many of us watched grow up in the White House, now taking on the role of author. Mm-hmm. As vitally, Alison Bechtel is a terrific writer and artist. She's won a MacArthur Genius Grant for her work as a graphic memoirist and writer. Her book, Fun Home, talks about her growing up in a combination of writings and drawings. It was made into a recent Tony Award-winning musical. And I think her perspectives on that mode of creation, an artist and a writer, how they work in concert. You know, I could go on, but we've got a ton of things. I would be remiss in pointing out that even given all of that, the famous people we've got coming, I'm most excited about our colleagues. There are teachers across this country who are just doing astounding stuff with the way they're designing classrooms, lessons, and the kind of work that their students do is just amazing. So I think this is a great opportunity to hear from them as well. What are they doing? How does that affect me? And I learn as much from, frankly, going to some of the sessions by my middle school colleagues as I do with my college colleagues. That's one of the beauties, I think, of NCTE.
Yeah, well, your enthusiasm is contagious, and I feel like that last piece right there really connects all the dots. If you want to explore this theme, responsibility, creativity, and the arts of language in depth, you'll be joining us in November. You'll be joining the conversations that will be going on online leading up to, during, and throughout, and then after the convention. So there's a lot to learn, a lot more to share. Thank you for joining us today, Doug. Next week, we'll come back and we'll hear more from you as we explore some of the guiding questions that were in the call for proposals that also drove some of the decisions about the events and things that will be part of the convention coming up.
Great, I look forward to it.
All right, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.